part of MRD102 Rural Development Program. 1.4.1 poverty alleviation programs, where we have where I told you that what are the three categories. We discussed that. If you go a little further down in the middle of the I've spoken about the Green Revolution. Learners, I would like to bring to your notice that whatever is being taught is a part of your course. As a counselor, it is my responsibility to make it a little interesting for you because the material is anyways available. I'm trying to make it out of the box. I'm trying to do some out of the box to make the class more interactive. And I rest assured, I will not go out of the syllabus, and I will definitely not take you back to the syllabus or the course that you've already done. I will not repeat what is being already taught to you. I will only teach what is a part of already the part of the unit. If you look at the middle part of 1.4.1 in the middle paragraph, the Green Revolution and how it has created a divide between the rich and the marginalized farmers, holdings and small land holdings, and what is the reason why such kind of a divide occurred between the farmers who had small and marginal land holdings and those who had comparatively large holdings of rural lands. So there were certain problems, and why this green revolution and the problems are being discussed is because it is an introductory part of why rural development programs were needed in India.
Ikaron
This,
kompyut.
okay, so this is an introduction to the
Somas
fact,
faka manje mchani.
it's an introduction to the fact, it is an introduction to the fact, or it is an introduction to the need behind why such programs were actually needed. Okay, and then eventually I will come to the programs. It is important for you to, as I always tell you, that as program policy implementers and as analysts, it's important for you to understand why a particular program got into its play. Why did it come into being? Just by reading the programs and mugging them up would won't benefit you as much as also if you try and learners if you understand usually we have such kind of programs for in the because a similar context with slight in a similar context with slight changes occur in most of the developing countries. Not it's India per se that stands alone. All the developing countries have more or less the same kind of problem. Mr. Raymond Moali, can you please mute yourself? Thank you.
Sorry, doc. Sorry, I didn't realize it was open.
No problem. No problem. Papago Faith, can you please also mute yourself? There are certain disturbance from that side. Okay, so as what we were discussing the Green Revolution, we are over with that part. And as I said, and you must have read that there were certain problems that were initially not envisaged when the Green Revolution was coming in place. And even if it was, we had to take it up, but definitely trying to come up with as an or as a counter to the maladies that this development process was coming up with. There were a number of special rural development programs that were put in place as corrective measures. And there's this our basic aim in this paper would be to actually understand these development programs that were introduced. Okay, so now if you want to make a list of the programs that were introduced, you can just write it down. I will read it out to you. There was this small farmers development agency that was introduced in 1973 and 74. These agencies and programs are basically focused directly towards the small and marginal farmers, the agricultural laborers. Agricultural laborers are those or rural artisans. So if we try and understand the difference, there are three words. There are marginal farmers, then there are agricultural laborers, and there are rural artisans. So if we differentiate between these three categories, is marginal farmers are those farmers who have very, very, very small land holdings, which and they are able to produce just about enough to sustain their family. So they land up working in other people's land also to earn that extra income. Then there are these agricultural laborers. Agricultural laborers are those who don't have any land of their own and they work as laborers in the lands of other people. Other rich land holdings, farmers, agriculturists or farmers, they work in their on their land. They do the tilling on their land. And then there are the rural artisans. Rural artisans are those people. Rural by the word rural we mean people living in the rural area, and artisans are those who have these skills, who make indigenous products in terms of what we call it here as small scale industries. There are these small artisans, they are rural and they have these they are artisans who make small things, and they are not majorly into agriculture as a profession, but they are artisans who depend upon their uh, this skill. Okay, so this agency was basically targeted towards these three categories as small farmers development agency. Then there was this marginal farmers and agricultural laborers agency program, which was introduced in, again I'll repeat it, marginal farmers and agriculture laborers agency program. This was introduced in 1974 and 75. Again, their beneficiaries were also the same. They were the marginal farmers, the rural artisans, and the agricultural laborers. I am repeating myself again that one needs to understand the difference between the marginal farmers, the rural artisans, and the agricultural laborers to be able to understand that uh, that farmers is not one word that can define the varied kind of categories that are present in the rural milieu. We need to understand that even when we talk about farmer, there are different categories, and each category needs to be understood. Their problems need to be understood, so that when the programs and policies are made, they are for their best. Okay, now and all these two programs that I just discussed in small, they are called SFDA for the first one and MFAL for the second one. The first was introduced in 1973 and 74, the other one in 74 and 75. Now, what happened eventually by 1976? By 1976, these two programs got merged. Since both the programs, as you can see, the beneficiaries were the same, as you can very clearly see that the beneficiaries were the same. So both these programs, the government decided to merge these programs and merge the funds of these programs to make it into a bigger program. So to give it more of a budget. So the SFDA got merged with MFAL got merged with SFDA. Okay. And now SFDA stands for Small Farmers Development Agency, was now the only and single agency program at that point of time, which mainly concentrated on the rural poor, and those, particularly those rural poor, whose land holdings were marginal, they were small, and they were not able to earn enough for themselves and their family. Okay. Now, going on to further programs, there was another program that was actually implemented for the daily wage earners. They were the daily wage earners, and this was called a crash employment program. This was introduced in 1974. This program was not implemented pan India. It was in certain selected villages where this program was introduced as a pilot. As a pilot, it was introduced to be taken up further and to be extended to other parts of the country later on, seeing to the success. So generally, what happens here, and this is a very interesting way and a very innovative way of trying to implement a program, and it is done in most of the countries. Okay, so we all here it is done in India too. That whatever program that is being planned at a pan India level is first implemented in certain select districts or states, and generally it happens at a state and a district level. So like our country is divided into states, and each state has is divided into number of districts. There are cities and then cities and districts. Okay, so a state would probably take up this program and say, okay, fine, we will implement it in some 10, 12 districts of our state and see the success rate. And it's a pilot that is done, and then whatever, mm, whatever, what would you say? Whatever problems that we come across during its implementation, or whatever the the negatives of that program that come up are solved before taking it up and implementing it at a pan level. So whatever mistakes that we commit, whatever mistakes that may get committed during the implementation at a pilot level are rectified before taking it up at a national pan level. So there were these programs that were initially, it was this program that I'm talking, the Pilot Intensive Rural Employment Program was introduced also as a pilot, and this was introduced in 74 to 76. And it was introduced on those blocks which had major unemployment problems. Okay, so I have taken you from 1973, and we have come to 1976. Then coming to 1978 to 79, the program SFDA that I have already discussed earlier. And this SFDA and other programs, the crash employment program, the pilot intensive program, they finally, what happened, they got merged together, integrated together. Their beneficiaries got culminated into one, and a single big new self employment program got initiated, which is now known as the Integrated Rural Development Program, IRDP. And now this was done and introduced at a very extensive level of 2000 blocks. Now you can see what happened here. What happened that there were small courses, there were small programs that were introduced from 1973 onwards, at smaller level, at district level, at block level. It was implemented, taken, experienced how the project got its success rate, how it got running, what were the problems in its implementation. And once uh, an entire strategy was created after practically implementing these programs, the second phase was when these programs got culminated together into a big pan India program by the name of Integrated Rural Development Program, which is actually Unit 3 of your MRD 102. If you look at your course content, the Integrated Rural Development Program, IRDP, is an all inclusive independent unit that has been dedicated, a unit has been dedicated to this program. Integrated Rural Development Program was introduced in 2000 blocks, initially with the provision to bring 300 blocks under its program every year. So first year 300 blocks were taken, then another 600 it got in. I mean, then another 300. As a result, it became 600, more 300, then became 900. So on and so forth. This continued, and by the year 1980, the IRDP was expanded to almost all the blocks in the country. Okay, so IRDP, which will be discussed in major detail as Unit 4, as Unit 4 has been given a special place as Unit 4 here is being discussed. Okay, is there any question that anybody wants to ask about till now? We have reached the IRDP program. Any question that anybody wants to ask, if they are feeling lost, if they feel so, if you can understand what I have done in these in 1 hour 15 minutes, is that I've taken you from the journey of the need of rural development programs, why rural development programs were needed in India, why we had to bring in specific policies and programs for poverty, for particularly poverty alleviation. If since we were talking about rural development, why are we talking about poverty alleviation? Is what I have already discussed. That why poverty alleviation programs play an important role. I have discussed about what are the various categories of farmers or rural people that are present in our villages. All this becomes important because we first need to understand, as I said earlier, we need to understand the beneficiaries. We need to understand the problems before trying to discuss in detail or study or understand the programs that is being the programs that are being made for these people can be understood only if we understand the people for whom these policies or the categories of people for whom these policies are being made. We cannot jump into the field without understanding our beneficiaries. This is an important, very very important punchline, or maybe it is one of the, it's one of the most important thing that you should keep in your mind when in the future you get into, if you get an opportunity of planning or planning or implementing any rural development programs. Firstly, as I told you, first is to understand the statistics, the numbers of the beneficiaries and the type of beneficiaries. You have to understand your target group. And that is the reason that before directly jumping into these programs, I took some of your time in trying to make you understand your beneficiaries, your target group. Your why what I mean by your is the target group of the course, indirectly saying that the target group for whom these programs and policies were made in India. So with IRDP, it is an integrated rural development plan. Integrated means it integrated a lot of other programs and policies that were being implemented at that point of time. Okay, so this is about IRDP. I will again repeat that IRDP was introduced in 2000 blocks initially. Okay, and by the year 1980, by the year 1980, it got expanded to all over the country, along with two other programs, the Food for Work program, which was later recognized as a national rural employment, was also reorganized. This Food for Work was later called the National Rural Employment Program, NREP, which was later extended to all the blocks of the country. In the same way, IRDP also initially started with smaller blocks, lesser blocks, and got extended to the other parts of the country later on. But we will not discuss in detail the National Rural Employment Program because NREP, as of now, in this part is not a part of too much of a detailed part of your course. Okay. Now, coming to the next. Next, if we look at Unit 4. Unit 4 is TRISEM and Dwakra. These are the short forms of two more programs. Please write it down. The full form of TRISEM, TRYSEM, is Training of Rural Youth for Self-Employment. So, what are the two things that we are seeing here in this title? Rural youth and self-employment. So, whom are we training? Who are our target group or beneficiaries? Our beneficiaries are actually the rural youth. That is the youth of rural India. And what are they being trained for? What was the need realized for them to be trained for? Is for self-employment. As in, their skills needed to be developed so that they can take up self-employment programs. So that the dependence on government jobs, the dependence of rural India, rural people on government jobs could be brought down. There was so much of a dependence on the government job in India that it was a very difficult or almost an impossible task to cater to that the kind of population that we have to be able to cater to all the needs and demands of their jobs. Employment needs and demands were very difficult to be fulfilled at a government level if they were expecting um, a majority of the section of the society to get government jobs. So the government realized that it is important for us to train the youth into taking up self-employment skills so that they can ensure their healthy livelihood and, if I would not use the word affluent, but at least respectable livelihood. So this program was introduced with the objective of training the rural youth for self-employment, and it was introduced in 1981. And the name of the program is TRISEM, TRYSEM. Okay. Another program that was implemented at the government level was the development of women and child in rural areas. The full form stands for Dwakra, DWCRA. It's called Dwakra. Dwakra, we call it here. We call it Dwakra here in short form, but the full form stands for Development of Women and Children in Rural Areas. I will not give you a lecture on gender here, but we all understand that no program and policy can be actually complete if we do not take into consideration the women of the country. And here in India, most of the departments that deal with women have children in it. So we have a Department of Women and Child Development. We have a Ministry of Women and Child Development. So it's not a ministry for women separate and a ministry for child separate because we understand that we understand the symbiosis, the relationship between a mother and a child. So whatever programs and policies that we implement are implemented with this notion, not a negative notion. I'm not taking it as a negative word, but with this understanding, that the women and children need to be together in trying in order to ensure any kind of a successful implementation of any program and policy that is being run at the government level. So the Dwakra was introduced with this objective that it was basically aimed at the development of the rural and urban. The sorry it was targeted at the development of women and children in the rural areas. Again, here this program was also initially introduced only in 50 selected districts. It was just a small program of IRDP. IRDP, we've not it's uh, IRDP we've discussed earlier, na IRDP Unit 3, Integrated Rural Development. So initially, Integrated Rural Development uh, had a small section, a very small section in it related to women and child. But later on, it was realized that this small section needs to be taken out from IRDP and made into a big independent project, independent program altogether, and after which it ceased to be a sub-program of IRDP and became an independent program. Dwakra became an independent program after falling out. Falling out is not the right word, but after being taken out as a sub part of IRDP and being made into a independent project. Initially, it was implemented in 50 districts. Later on, it got it covered all the districts of the country. As I told you, this has been a practice that in India, that initially a program is introduced at a pilot level in select few districts. For some years, its success rate is analyzed, its problems are discussed, the problem areas are rectified, and it is after that um, as an integrated program, or maybe at a pan level, it is implemented with a bang after having worked upon all the problems that could come across in a successful implementation. So we've done TRISEM, we've done Dwakra, and we have done IRDP. So these were the major programs that were basically there for the poverty. These were the major poverty alleviation programs that were introduced by the government to bring up the poverty levels, or to bring up the people living below poverty line to minimum standards of living. Okay, there are other programs also that have been discussed over here, but one of the major ones again is the Jawahar Rozgar Yojana, which is known as JRY. The Jawahar Rozgar Yojana is, write it down, Jawahar. Jawahar comes from Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of our country. Jawahar Rozgar Yojana. Okay, Rozgar stands for employment, and Yojana in Hindi means program. So it was an employment program, employment generation program. There were two small programs being run, which got merged into one as Jawahar Rozgar Yojana. The two smaller programs that got merged into Jawahar Rozgar Yojana were the Rural Labor Employment Guarantee Program, Rural Labor Employment Guarantee Program. Short form is RLEGP, and NREP. These two programs got merged into Rural Labor Employment Guarantee Program. What now? What was the now? Try and understand from. Okay. So now try and understand from what the word these two programs got combined together. Since both of them had similar aims, they got combined together into a bigger program in 1989 by the name of Jawahar Rozgar Yojana. So Jawahar Rozgar Yojana is a part of your Unit 5. This program was implemented in 1989, though as subparts it was already existing in NREP and RLEGP, which I've discussed above. Okay. Now coming to the last part of Block 1, which is Unit 6, is the Employment Assurance Scheme. See now, you can understand that all these programs that I have been discussing with you, all these programs that I have been discussing with you are basically targeted or aimed towards either ensuring a better livelihood to people, or giving them some kind of a skill, or to giving them some kind of an employment. All these three, giving them skills, giving them employment, or giving them um, opportunities of creating a self-employment, are aimed and targeted towards poverty alleviation, are aimed and targeted to so that the farmers are able to earn enough for themselves. Not farmers, the rural people are able to earn enough for themselves so that the rural poor are able to break that line and come up above the poverty levels. So the last program that we will be discussing here is called the Employment Assurance Scheme. Okay. Now this was introduced again initially it was introduced in 1,700 blocks where there was a major problem of unemployment, and this happened in 1992 and 93. And by 1996 and 97, this program got extended to all over the country. All over the country. Okay. So these are the major programs that have been discussed here. In your study material as Annex 1, there is a detailed list of programs and events that are related to rural development in India. So I request you to please go through Annex 1 and see if there is any question that you need to find out, and we can discuss it when we meet tomorrow. So by the end of the 90s, 1990s, by the end of 1990s in India, there were around 6 programs for self-employment. Self-employment is self-employment is to be able to generate your own employment, is what we mean by self-employment. And 2 programs of wage employment, as in matlab you getting an employment where you're earning wages. So there were 6 self-employment programs and 2 wage employment programs that were implemented by the Ministry of Rural Development. These 8 programs, the names of all these 8 programs with their short form and the extended abbreviations are given in a box in your study material. It would be on page number 6. It would be interesting for you and important for you to know their names in their exact nomenclatures. You have to memorize these. IRDP stands for Integrated Rural Development Program. TRICEMP, as we've discussed, stands for the Training of Rural Youth for Self-Employment. DWACRA, we've discussed, stands for Development of Women and Child in Rural Areas. MWS is a Million Wealth Scheme. We've not discussed this because it is not directly a part of your unit. If you want, we can. It was basically it was a very important initiative, but what happened that people were really dependent on monsoons for water, for drinking water. So they were relying on, and there were some, if there were any kind of climatic change, there were a lot of programs, there were a lot of problems that these people faced. So a million wells scheme was introduced with 100% subsidies were given to these small and marginal farmers, and they were asked to dig up wells, and subsidies were given for this initiative to them. Okay, then a supply of improved rural kit for rural artisans. This is called as Sitra, where tool kits were distributed to the rural artisans. Okay, and the sixth program, which was for self-employment, was Ganga Kalyan Yojana. Ganga Kalyan Yojana it is a minor irrigation program. These programs are not discussed to they are not really specific a separate part of your unit, but as knowledge you should definitely know them. Then there were two wage employment programs, Jawahar Rozgar Yojana and Employment Assurance Scheme. So these are the programs today that we discussed in detail, and this is a part of Block 1, Poverty Alleviation Programs, a retrospect. I'm repeating myself that when we use the word retrospect, it means that it's not just the knowledge of the programs that is important. It is really, really important for you to understand why and who and for whom. So I hope we have been able to understand our whoms and whys, why these programs came into being, what these programs were, and for whom these programs are and were. We have around 10 minutes left for the lecture to be completed. If there is any question, please feel free. It is the first time that I'm interacting with you. I need to learn a lot from you. We'll take some time in trying to understand each other, and I'm sure we'll have a very, very successful innings with each other. Got to be patient with each other, and I need to understand my mistakes. So I will not be able to improve if you don't tell me where I need to. So please do tell me. It is my first experience with you people. I need to understand how to take it in a more successful manner ahead. Feel free to tell me and talk to me. And if there is anything that you want to ask regarding the lecture, please. I'm leaving the forum open for discussion. Are you there? Is anybody there?
Yes, ma'am, we are here.
Doc, we are present.
Yes, yes, yes. Any question that you need to know? You need to ask? As you can see, if you look at your syllabus, I hope you have your syllabuses ready with you. We have discussed on Block 1 today of Poverty Alleviation Programs, a retrospect. Unit 1 to Unit 6 we've discussed in short. See, what we need to understand, you have to understand one thing very, very, very clearly. These are counseling sessions. These are not classroom lectures, because neither you nor me, we don't have that kind of a time to be able to go word by word, step by step, para by para into the course. My responsibility and your responsibility as a learner and my responsibility as a counselor is to solve your queries. But queries will only come if you as learners go through the reading material. It will not be successful. It will not be a successful venture if I'm reading out to you and you are taking it as a classroom lecture. So it's very important for you to please go through your course material, so that you know that okay, now tomorrow I'll be doing block 2, sorry. So I there's no harm in going through your blog. So I'll be giving you an overall idea. It's not one to one, paragraph wise, word to word wise, and it's not um, as if I'm giving you notes. It's not how it works. That's not how it works. Okay. So you please need to go through your material. Okay, now ask any question that you want to.
Hi, Doc. Just an observation. You have talked about the last two units, which talks about employment scheme and the JAMA or whatever. Those units are not there on the LMS portal. Where can we find them? Because on the LMS portal, it only shows 4 blocks, but you have talked about 6 blocks here.
It is, see, regarding the material, Jawahar Rozgar Yojana and employment assurance schemes is available in your course material. Okay. And rest, otherwise, these schemes are definitely available otherwise, but if you look at your course material, the amount of information that is given, I think should be sufficient for. I guess that's the amount of information they are expecting you to know. So it is given. Do you have your? Is the course material available on your LMS? I'm sure it is. This is what has been told to me.
Yes, it is, but the last two units are not there.
No, no, no. I'll tell you. This should be on page 8 or something. Wait, wait. Let me check. Huh? This would be on page. Okay, they are the detail, the names and year is discussed in page number 5 and 6. Okay, but again, here again, this course material will give you a brief idea. If you want to do more of a research on it, you need to go through other materials also that is present on your LMC. But both these programs are discussed on page number 5 and page number 6.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you.
Anything else?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Hello, good afternoon, ma'am.
Fine. Okay. I think I'm sorry I have not introduced myself. I am Dr. Soumya Shankar, and I am from Lucknow. This is a state this is in Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh is a state. This is a place in Uttar Pradesh. It's the capital of Uttar Pradesh, and I'll be I'll give you a brief introduction about myself in your next lecture, because now we are running a little short of time. I don't want to take you
Hello, good
overboard
afternoon, ma'am.
because we've already been there for 2 hours together. But yes, I'm Dr. Samya Shankar. As of now, enough. Enough of the introduction. As of now, I'll tell more about myself later, maybe tomorrow.
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Any more questions?
Yes, one more.
Yes, please.
So previously we had discussed that we will also be having weekend counseling sessions. Where are we on that? Because the schedule that we have received so far is only for the weekdays. Does it mean that there are no weekend counseling sessions in that case?
See, the counseling sessions and its schedule has been given to you, and I don't I will not be the right person to answer that question because if I can only answer about the course that has been allotted to me, but I'm sure you have other redressal systems available with you, and you can mail them if you want to ask anything. My program, my lectures will be today, tomorrow, day after, and on the second. So on the third. So it is 31st, first, second, third. 4 days I'll be taking my lectures and uh, will be with you. Okay. Again, lecture is a wrong word. I'll be counseling you, and I'm repeating myself again and again. These are counseling sessions. These are not classroom lectures where I take you from one step to another. You need to do your reading. You need to read, and then so that I am able to solve your queries. My work is actually my this we'll be happier, we'll be more successful if my work is left to answering queries rather than doing coursework reading, because then we will not be left with enough time to discuss what actually needs to be done. The purpose of this program is to discipline. So you need to learn. Learning means you need to read, and then when there are problems, then I need to solve them. But as of now, you're not reading, so please read and come. It's not too much. There's around 5, 6 pages. It's not too much at all.
Okay, ma, there is one more thing.
Right? I think we'll be more happy and successful in our interaction. Okay. See you then. I'll log out now, and we'll meet tomorrow.
Okay.
All
Bye.
right, Mariam. Thank you so
And
much.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for the lecture.
kai ni ya za a kai ni kana ma na mamaki ina ba ta kama zan ba amma saboda